Hello everybody, this is the 35th lecture of the IELTS with Musahid al-Qasir. Today we are taking book number 15, the academic. Test number 1, passage number 3. What is We're having this question. Says, choose the correct letter A, B, C or D. Write the correct letter in boxes 27 to 32 on your answer sheet. 27. The writer refers to visitors to New York to illustrate the point that. 28. According to the second paragraph, what's the writer's view of explorers? 29. The writer refers to description of Egdon Heath to suggest that. 30. In the fourth paragraph, the writer refers to a golden age to suggest that. 31. In the sixth paragraph, when discussing the definition of exploration, the writer argues that. 32. In the last paragraph, the writer explains that he is interested in. Okay, let's start with the first paragraph. We are all explorers. Our desire to discover and then share that the newfound knowledge is part of what makes us a human. Indeed, this has played an important part in our success as a species. Long before the first caveman slumped down beside the fire and grunted the news that there were plenty of wild beasts yonder, our ancestors had learned the value of sending out scouts to investigate the unknown. This question nature of ours undoubtedly helped our species spread around the globe, just as it nowadays, no doubt, helps the last romantic pennon maintain their existence in the depleted forests of Borneo and a visitor negotiate the subways of New York. Okay, let's see the choices of 27. A. Exploration is an intrinsic element of being a human. B. Most people are enthusiastic about exploring. C. Exploration can lead to surprising results. D. Most people find exploration daunting. A says exploration is an intrinsic element of being a human, and we have here in the fifth line, this questing nature of ours undoubtedly helped our species spread around the globe. So 27 will be A. 28. According to the second paragraph, what's the writer's view of explorers? Let's see the choices. Their discoveries have brought both benefits and disadvantages. B. Their main value is in teaching others. C. The act on an urge that is common to everyone. D. They tend to be more attracted to certain professions than to others. Let's see the second paragraph. It says, over the years, we've come to think of explorers as a peculiar breed, different from the rest of us, different from those of us who are merely well-traveled even. And perhaps there is a type of person more suited to seeking out the new, a type of caveman more inclined to risk venturing out. That, however, does not take away from the fact that we all have this inquiring instinct, even today, and that in all sorts of professions, whether artist, marine, biologist, or astronomer, borders of the unknown are being tested each day. 28. What's the writer's view of explorers? The answer will be C. The act on an urge that is common to everyone, because in the last three lines it says, does not take away from the fact that we all have this inquiring instinct even today, and that in all sorts of professions, whether artist, marine biologist, or astronomer, borders of the unknown are being tested each day. So it illustrates that C. The answer will be C. 29 says, the writer refers to a description of Egdon Heath to suggest that A. Hardy was writing about his own experience of exploration. B. Hardy was mistaken about the nature of exploration. C. Hardy's aim, which means target or goal, was to investigate people's emotional states. D. Hardy's aim was to show the attraction of isolation. So, Thomas Hardy set some of his novels in Egdon Heath, a fictional area of uncultivated land, and used the landscape to suggest the desires and fears of his characters. He is delving into matters we all recognize because they are common to humanity. This is surely an act of exploration and into a world as remote as the author chooses. Hardy's aim was to investigate people's emotional states. It's mentioned here. Explorer and travel writer Peter Fleming, blah blah blah. Okay, so let's go back to make sure. A fictional area of uncultivated land, and used the landscape to suggest the desires and fears of his characters. So this is the aim of it. Okay. 30. In the fourth paragraph, the writer refers to a golden age to suggest that A. The amount of useful information the amount of useful information produced by exploration decreased. B. Fewer people are interested in exploring than in the 19th century. C. Recent developments have made exploration less exciting. D. We are wrong to think that exploration is no longer necessary. In this book about the exploration of the Earth's surface, I have confined myself to those whose travels were real and who also aimed at more than personal discovery. But that still left me with another problem. The word explorer has become associated with a past era. We think back to a golden age as if exploration peaked somehow in the 19th century, as if the process of discovery is now on the decline. B says fewer people are interested in exploring than in the 19th century, so the answer will be B. 31 says, in the sixth paragraph, so we leave paragraph number 5. In the sixth paragraph, when discussing the definition of exploration, the writer argues that A. People tend to relate exploration to their own professional interests. B. Certain people are likely to misunderstand the nature of exploration. C. The generally accepted definition has changed over time. D. Historians and scientists have more valid definitions than the genetic public. Okay, let's see. Each definition is slightly different and tends to reflect the field of endeavor of each pioneer. It was the same whoever I asked. The prominent historian would say exploration was a thing of the past. The cutting-edge scientist would say it was of the present, and so on. They each set their own particular criteria, the common factor in their approach being that they all had, unlike many of us who simply enjoy travel or discovering new things, both a very definite objective from the outset and also a desire to record their findings. So, when discussing the definition of exploration, the writer argues A. People tend to relate exploration to their own professional interests, and it's mentioned here. Let's go back to it. Each definition is slightly different. This is the key answer, and tends to reflect the field of endeavor of each pioneer, which means people tend to relate exploration to their own profession interests. Okay, 32 says, in the last paragraph of the writer, the writer explains that he is interested in A. How someone's personality is reflected in their choice of places to visit. B. The human ability to cast a new light on places that may be familiar. C. How travel writing has evolved to meet changing demands. D. The feelings that writers develop about the places that they explore. But it says in the last paragraph, so we need to move to which says here, I best declare my own bias. As a writer, I'm interested in the exploration of ideas. I've done a great many expeditions, and each one was unique. I've lived for months alone with isolated groups of people all around the world, even to uncontacted tribes. But none of these things is the slightest interest to anyone unless, through my books, I found a new slant, explored a new idea. Why? Because the world has moved on. It says B, and in 32, B says the human ability to cast a new light on places that may be familiar. So he says here, I'm interested in the exploration of ideas. I've done a great many expeditions, and each one was unique. I've lived for months alone with isolated groups of people all around the world, even to uncontacted tribes, but none of these things is of the slightest interest to anyone unless through my books. I found a new slant, explored a new idea, which means here new ideas are found and that may be familiar, which means to cast a new light on places that may be familiar, because he's talking about his books and his writings. So the answer will be here, B. Okay, let's move on to a new question. 33 to 37 says, look at the following statements, questions 33 to 37, and the list of explorers below. Match each statement with the correct explorer, A to E. Write the correct letter A to E in boxes 33 and 37 on your answer sheet. Nota bene, you may use any letter more than once. MB nota bene, which means you may use any letter more than once. That means A, B, C, D, or E. Any of them could be used more than once, and you don't have to use all of them if you don't need them all. 33. He referred to the relevance of the form transport used. 34. He described feelings on coming back home after a long journey. 35. He worked for the benefit of specific groups of people. 36. He did not consider learning about oneself an essential part of exploration. 37. He defined exploration as being both unique and of value to others. List of explorers: Peter Fleming, Ran Fiennes, Chris Bonington, Robin Hanbury, Tennyson, and Wilfred Thesiger. We have also 38 to 40. He says write no more than 2 words. That means 1 or 2 words. The writer's own bias. The writer's own bias was in the last paragraph, so I don't have to check it out now, because when we did questions from 27 to 32, the last paragraph has the word bias. The writer has experience of a large number of blah blah blah. We will check it once we reach the last paragraph. I don't have to read the beginning, but firstly I need to look for A, B, C, D, or E. Peter Fleming, I mean those explorers. Okay, so let's see. Over the years we've come to think, okay, as I remember, the first paragraph doesn't have any name. So the second paragraph starts with Thomas Hardy. We don't have Thomas Hardy here, but we also have in the second paragraph Fleming. It was in the fourth line. Explorer, yes, starts from explorer and travel writer Peter Fleming. Okay, we need to check this out to find if there is an answer about those ones. Okay, so where is it? Here, the fourth line. Explorer and travel writer Peter Fleming talks of the moment when the explorer returns to the existence he has left behind with his loved ones. The traveler who has for weeks or months seen himself only as a pony and a relevant alien crawling laboriously over a country in which he has no roots and no background, suddenly encounters his other self, a relatively solid figure with a place in the minds of certain people. So, what he's talking about here is that he described feelings on coming back home after a long journey. How? Let's reread it. Explorer and travel writer Peter Fleming talks of the moment when the explorer returns to the existence he has left behind with his loved ones. With his loved ones, that means when he's back home after a long journey, because your loved ones are at home. That's something certain. So, 34 will be A. Let's go on to the names. We have Ron Fiennes, Chris Bonington, Robin Huntberry Tennyson, Wilfred Thesiger. In number 3, I have read nothing about these names in paragraph number 3. In paragraph number 4, also, we don't have any here. So let's move on to check. Here is how some of today's explorers define the word. Ron Fiennes. Yes, we have Ron Fiennes. Okay. Ron Fiennes, dubbed the greatest living explorer, said, "An explorer is someone who has done something that no human has done before, and also done something scientifically useful." So let's see. He defined exploration as being both unique and of value to others. 37. Ron Fiennes. Let's make sure. The greatest living explorer said, "An explorer is someone who has done something that no human has done." He defined exploration as being both unique, which means no human has done before, and also done something scientifically useful, which means value to others and of value to others. So 37 will be B. Okay, after that we have a Chris Bonington. Chris Bonington, let's read the Chris Bonington. A leading mountaineer felt exploration was to be found in the act of physically touching the unknown. You have to have gone somewhere new. 33, 34, 35, 36, and 37. None of them is talking about that. So we don't need Bonington in this case. It's an extra one. They put them in order to mislead you. Pay attention. After that, we have the Robin Hanbury Tennyson, a campaigner on behalf of remote so-called tribal peoples said, a traveler simply records information about some far-off world and reports back, but an explorer changes the world. So in this case, 35, he worked for the benefit of specific groups of people. Let's go back to make sure. The Robin Hanbury Tennyson, a campaigner on behalf of remote so-called tribal peoples. That means 35, he worked for the benefit of specific groups of people. Yes, that's the right answer. So, we still have Wilfred Thesiger. We still have 33 and 36 haven't been done, and we have the last name Wilfred Thesiger. Let's read 33 and 36 to make sure they are related to Wilfred Thesiger. He referred to the relevance of the form of transport used, and 36, he did not consider learning about oneself an essential part of exploration. Wilfred Thesiger, who crossed Arabia's empty quarter in 1946 and belongs to an area of mechanized travel now lost to the rest of us, told me, if I'd gone across by camel when I could have gone by car. Okay, it explains 33, he referred to the relevance of the form of transport used, which means if I'd gone across by camel when I could have gone by car. We have two relevance of the form of transport, two ways of transport. So 33 will be Wilfred Thesiger. Let's check 36, which says he didn't consider learning about oneself an essential part of exploration. So let's go on with it. It could have been a stunt. To him, exploration meant bringing back information from a remote place regardless of any great self-discovery. Yes. Here, to him, exploration meant bringing back information from a remote place, regardless of any great self-discovery, which explains consider learning. He did not consider learning about oneself of any great self-discovery an essential part of exploration, because he mentioned that bringing back information from a remote place regardless, that means it's not important to have an essential part, to have learning. So this explains 36. In this case, 33 will be Thesiger, 36 will be Thesiger 2, 34 will be Peter Fleming, and 37 will be Robin Hanbury Tennyson, and 35 will be 37 will be Rand Fiennes, and 35 will be Robin Hanbury Tennyson. Let's go on to the last part. Remember the bias. I'd best declare my own bias as a writer. Okay, let's read the gaps 38, 39, and 40. The writer's own bias. The writer has experience of a large number of gap and was the first stranger that certain previously gap people had encountered. He believes there is no need for further exploration of Earth's gap except to answer specific questions such as how buffalo eat. The writer has experience of a large number of. Let's see. I'd best declare my own bias. As a writer, I'm interested in the exploration of ideas. I'd done a great many expeditions, and each one was unique. The writer has experience of a large number of expeditions, because he's saying I've done a great many expeditions. Experience of a large number of expeditions. So 38 will be expeditions. And was the first stranger that certain previously gap people. Let's go on with it. I've lived for months alone with isolated groups of people all around the world. So 39 will be isolated. Why? Because he said was the first stranger that certain previously isolated people had encountered. So 39 will be isolated. He believes there is no need for further exploration of Earth's gap. Let's move on with it. Even to uncontacted tribes, but none of these things is of the slightest interest to anyone unless through my books I've found a new slant, explored a new idea. Why? Because the world has moved on. The time has long passed for the great continental voyages, another walk to the poles, another crossing of the empty quarter. We know how the land surface of our planet lies. Exploration of it is now down to the details. So this answers number 40. He believes there is no need for further exploration of Earth's surface. Why? Because he says we know how the land surface of our planet lies. Exploration of it is now down to the details. Okay, so 38 will be expeditions, 39 will be isolated, and 40 will be surface. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please just ask them in the comments. If you have any criticism, please write it in the comments. Wish that you enjoyed and liked this lecture. If you liked it, please just press the button of subscribe. It was Mr. Haidar Al-Qasir with you. Thank you very much.